What's going on, everybody? I'm Gem Mint, and today we're going to review the Berserk Deluxe Edition 14, which contains the last two volumes by Kentaro Miura, volumes 40 and 41. So for non-spoilers, I'm going to say Volume 40 is one of my favorite volumes out of this entire series. We get a huge moment for Casca. In volumes 40 and 41, we get some revelations on Skull Knight, and we do see the final meeting between Guts and Griffith. We're going to jump into a full spoiler review of these two volumes and the official guidebook, which is at the end of this deluxe edition. But before we do that, if you're looking to pick up any collected editions, whether they're deluxe editions like these or omnibus, absolutes, check out our sponsor, Organic Price Books. They have super fast shipping with great packaging, plus you can pre-order so you don't miss out on your favorite collected editions. Use code GEMMINT every time and it'll save you an extra $2. Now, you've been warned, there will be full spoilers in this review. Let's jump into it right now. All right, guys, so the 14th deluxe edition, you've got that textured leather-like cover, Brand of Sacrifice, Berserk, the spine, nothing on the back, but these all retail $50. Here is the paper that comes wrapped in the book, so we're still in Casca's dream. Shirky and Guts have gone in there to try to bring Casca back. She has been incapacitated since the events of the eclipse, and volume 40 is going to be a very important volume when it comes to Casca. All right, it opens up to some black cover pages, and as always, we get a couple of posters. So let's take a quick look here. Looks like we've got Casca right here. We've got within her dream, the beast of her dream fighting the Dark Falcon. And we have what looks like an Elfheim here with the Skull Knight. You got some fairies, and you have one of the witches from Elf Island. All right, so man, the last Berserk volumes by Kentaro Miura. And then the table of contents, of course, volumes 40 and 41, and they ended it off with the Berserk official guidebook, which I do like. I like the fact that you can have the 14 deluxe editions. It completes the entire Kentaro Miura run. His students have picked up and continued with volume 42, so I like how they kind of bookended it with the official guidebook. So getting into volume 40, if you guys are familiar with Prime 1 Studio, they recreated this exact panel for a statue, which I did own and review. You get a quick biography on all the characters that are in play and where they're at in the story. So Danan being that fairy that we saw with Skull Knight in the poster. Another kind of brief bio on where we're at, a little synopsis, and we get the chapters here. So we're still in the Fantasia arc, Elf Island chapter, Forest of Corpses and Thorned Cedars, main culprits, the final fragment, Awakening, On the Sun-Dappled Ground, Jotun, and Triumphant Return at Dawn. Like I said, we open up, we're still in Casca's dream. You've got Shirky, Farnese is there as well. Actually, you know, I mentioned is Shirky and Guts, but really it's Farnese and Shirky, and you have this dog that represents Guts within the dream as well. A lot of like sexual inspired beasts because of what happened to Casca. It makes sense that these are the type of beasts that are haunting her in her dream. The art gets so crazy here, man. Like the detail in this black and white, very reminiscent of the eclipse, which makes sense as well. So basically you have Farnese, she's using her fetishes and basically all the tricks in the book to fight off all of these demons on her way to the final fragment, basically the final piece that they need to put Casca back together within her dream. So going on to the next chapter, they're still on that journey. You have this kind of little sack boy, if you guys are familiar with Little Big Planet, kind of doll of Casca, which is being carried along by Farnese. And then we see this evil Dark Falcon swoop in and threaten our team. You get the idea who that's supposed to represent. Obviously Griffith as Femto. We continue forward battling beasts, Guts being the protector like he is. You got Shirky here, again, using her powers and her tricks. And just like the statue, if you guys have seen, and from the last volume as well, you have this casket with all the fragments they've been collecting of Casca. And then what happens here is she unleashes what she realizes she has, because remember, it's in the dreamlike state. She has the Berserker armor, and then that's how we get this Berserker armor dog Guts. And he starts battling the Dark Hawk. A lot of just big scenes of artwork here. Here goes that panel again from the front of the volume. Pulling out his hand cannon, coming out of his mouth this time. And just a nice epic battle between Guts and Griffith within Casca's dream. Shirky's mistress. Kind of a full circle moment here as well, telling her that we would meet again in dreams, and she comes to help out our campaign when it seems like they've run out of options and that they were going to be overtaken by this demon horde. So the last fragment, what we see is the fetus of the Moon Boy, Guts and Casca's unborn child, and they grab the last fragment, which will put Casca back together again. Now, Farnese and Shirky, they get a glimpse of what happened to her during the eclipse, so you know, they're in her mind and they're seeing what the main cause is that broke her mind and turned her into this Elaine character, literally showing her body being broken into fragments until we have the doll within her dream. All these fragments they've been collecting throughout the previous volumes before we got into this deluxe edition. And the final piece is her heart. And notice her heart has these thorns surrounding it. So that's the dilemma that Shirky has. Do we put her heart back in even though it's kind of damaged? There's this cursed energy around it. Not to sound too much like Jujutsu. She makes a decision at the end of the day, hey, if we don't do it, all of this journey has been for nothing. So she places the heart back into Casca. She is finally complete once again. Her little avatar goes back in under her brand of sacrifice. And man, what an amazing moment. See, I mean, I've been following this story for 5 years. And, you know, many people have been following it for, 30 years? But finally, we get Casca back. After her being this kind of zombified version of herself the whole time. Beautiful moment to see her come back. You could see the life back in her eyes. She explains to them that she was in like a dream-like state behind Elaine. And she was, you know, she remembers everything that happened, basically, how everybody helped her and treated her. And when they mention Guts and she thinks of Guts, she tears up. So, you know, it's such a sad and dark story, but the little glimmers of good really hit hard. The elf princess puts her in this garb and she kind of says, hey, that's not really me. She's having these flashbacks of the events, you know, prior to her going through the eclipse, Guts, Isidro, the Moon Boy. She mentions she wants to see Guts. So you have this beautiful moment, right? They're going to finally reunite. But as soon as she sees Guts, all those memories of the eclipse overwhelm her. And it ends this chapter. Look, she gets the flashback of Griffith. It ends with her screaming. All right, let's take a quick breather. I want to thank thatSpidermanBooth.com for sponsoring this video. If you're into modern comics, exclusives, ratios, variants of any kind, you got to check out their monthly subscription box. You get 5 comics, $100 of retail value for just $50, and you get a variant that's limited to this box. This month, they're going to have the Essentia Issue 1 Jim Lee variant. This is the John Dolmayan book, the founder of Torpedo Comics, the drummer for System of a Down. Very hard to find variant with every box during this month. Go to thatSpidermanBooth.com and sign up for their subscription box today. It's something I didn't really catch on the first read through, that, you know, the thing that's preventing her from being able to interact with Guts is the thorns around her heart. Now we're over to Griffith's scene. He's fighting these trolls and orgs that are terrorizing the land, because even though Griffith did this unspeakable act, he's been a force of good, uniting humans and apostles. You got Zod here, all of his demon apostles ready to fight these orgs, huge orgs, man. The trolls that we've seen terrorizing our crew in earlier volumes are crazy small compared to these orgs. But of course, Griffith's army, man, they are the force to be reckoned with, taking down the orgs. And kind of like even during the Golden Age arc, Griffith goes after the king to just end it. You got this Hydra battle, Zod tearing off their heads. Doesn't he know that 3 more will appear? As Zod is fighting the Hydra, you have all the other apostles coming out to help him. He goes Griffith, and like I said, taking the battle to the king of the orgs, kills him with one quick swoop and ends the battle. Man, he's got these titans on his side, man. It's crazy. Sonya is a big deal. That's the medium that's like his right-hand man on these battlegrounds, and you kind of see what that relationship looks like once they're off the battlefield, and she gets kind of jealous because of that. Another important scene here, kind of what makes Griffith, a godlike creature, he asks Grunbeld to restructure like this Stonehenge type of area so they can all travel home. They're worried about getting back in time. And Griffith takes them through the Stonehenge. It starts warping reality, and they start traversing through the branches of the world tree in the air, blowing the minds of all the humans, basically performing another miracle, another reason for these humans to get behind his cause. And that's where we end off on volume 40. So then we're on to volume 41. This is the last volume. The chapters we have are Dawn of the Empire, Barrier, The Cherry Orchard, The Ravine, Death Vision, Leaping Monkey, and Tears of Morning Dew. I really love how beautiful Griffith's kingdom looks, man. It really is something. They're having these meetings of how they should plan things. And you know what's funny? Even though they're such a formidable force and they have this beautiful kingdom, the economy is still not really doing well. And you have all these men who would normally be out for their best interests, you know, politics, right? And they even mention it in this book. They're not really so much worried about that anymore. They're really worried about the good of the people. Then you have Lady Charlotte. She brings up a way to help out orphans. She's kind of hesitant to bring it up, but Griffith backs her up and kind of gets everybody on her side. And it just shows how they're trying to run this kingdom in a different way, and they're trying to do the best for humanity. Yeah. So here's where that's all going down. They're leading a nation and its people. One must have a sublime vision, and everybody's getting behind him. So here's where we see Sonya getting a little bit jealous of Princess Charlotte, her wanting to spend some time with Griffith and telling her, hey man, you've been chilling with him for the whole battle, you know, give him some time with his wife. And then we get what's kind of like a throwback to what got Griffith in this whole mess to begin with, when he sleeps with Princess Charlotte, or Lady Charlotte at the time, and then gets captured by the king. The whole event that leads him into becoming Femto. So that kind of is a full circle moment as well. And just like that, he does leave kind of knowing that the end is here. See, tonight is the night, meaning he knows that Casca is being brought back, and then it flashes to her. She chooses more of a warrior's garb rather than the princess attire. That's not her style. And she shows how formidable she is in front of everybody, fighting these golems that they can't hurt anybody. But Casca doesn't miss a beat, just like when she was part of the Band of the Hawk. She's impressing everybody. And then you have Guts kind of just watching from behind the tree. It's established now that she's not really able to face Guts without having all those flashbacks pour back into her. And she talks to him behind the tree, telling him, you know, just stay there and listen. Really sad, man. Her explaining to him what's going on. And even as they're talking about it, man, she gets overwhelmed with the flashbacks again and boom, passes out. Look, even when she sees Guts, all she sees is all the demons and all the events from the eclipse. So Guts, you know, wanders off. Then we have this interaction with the Skull Knight. We find out who the Skull Knight is here and what his relationship was to Shirki's mistress, and that he was this prior king, the king before Griffith. Then we have Farnese going through her mage training. She's already an adult, and she's not really supposed to be as far along as she is. All of these mages, they're children, and they've been training their entire lives. But not only does Shirki impress the witches on Elfheim, but so does Farnese. All right, then we have Guts and Skull Knight. They're going to go on a little journey to the ravine here, followed by Shirki and one of the main witches. But Shirki's trying to fly without being in the astral form. Instead of waiting, this witch takes her off to follow Guts and the Skull Knight. So they're trying to find a healer who can help Casca so that she is able to interact with Guts and doesn't keep getting overwhelmed by those flashbacks. They run into the blacksmith who was responsible for creating the Berserker armor. Hanar is the blacksmith. So he even refers to him as Your Majesty, kind of how we've been teased about Skull Knight throughout the entire story so far. They reference his name. I mean, it's not really important. What's important is that we know he was the owner of the Berserker armor before Guts, and we kind of figured this the whole time as well. And that's why he's been kind of shadowing him and helping him out, really trying to make sure he doesn't make the same mistakes that he did. We get a glimpse of what happened to Skull Knight here, and it's kind of insinuated that he was unfaithful to his wife and that he accidentally kills her while wearing the Berserker armor. And we're seeing flashbacks of the Eclipse event that took place before with the Skull Knight. See, it's even a different god hand. Void is still there, but then there's 4 different apostles here. And it shows, you know, this is just showing him being the bearer of the armor before the death of his wife. And you know what? Maybe it wasn't so much that he killed her. It's possible she had the brand of sacrifice on her as well. So it could have been something similar to like what happened with Casca. But she dies, and it's kind of, you know, why he's always so sad. You have Shirky here able to remove the Berserker armor from Guts once again. But yeah, basically just explaining what happened. It was almost like history repeating itself with Guts and Casca. Yeah, so this is where they're mentioning the taboo. So that's what I'm saying with it's like insinuated that he had something with Shirky's mistress, and we remember the mistress even talking about Skull Knight back in one of the earlier volumes. Then you got Isidro just showing off in front of the other girls. You know how he does. A lot of Star Wars jokes with Puck here. They kind of really do it a lot in these last couple chapters. And you have the mermaid from that back in that previous arc. She's tamed a Kelpie, which if you remember when we had that first Kelpie battle, it was like such a powerful foe. But it kind of just shows how powerful everybody's became able to tame the Kelpie and interact with it. Now Guts hanging out outside. He can't really hang around with Casca and the rest of the crew. And then look who shows up, the Moon Boy. So nice somber moments at the end here. We find out that time moves differently on Elf Island. So even though Moon Boy is usually only around for a night and disappears in the morning, he's able to hang out for a couple of days. And Guts does the nice thing, and he kind of says, hey, listen, go hang out with your mom. And Casca gets to be a mother to Moon Boy for a few nights here. Very nice scenes. It's just so sad that Guts has to like wait outside. He's not able to partake and hang out with everybody. He's just out there training and doing what he does. Moon Boy comes out though. I was scared when he put the armor on that something was going to happen, but just showing quality time. So this is the end of Kentaro's work. And this is why I'm kind of happy that the students were able to continue it, because Casca's laying with the Moon Boy. She has this bad dream of, you know, the eclipse, the apostles, him as a fetus. She wakes up, Moon Boy's not there. Comes outside, she sees Guts approaching the Moon Boy, and what happens here is, I don't know, I don't really know what happens here. It's almost like, I don't know that the Moon Boy turns into Griffith, or Griffith just shows up with a tear in his eye, and that's it, man. So like, if that was just the ending, it just leaves me wanting so much more, and it's obvious that Kentaro had more story to tell here, which is why the students ended up continuing it. Back in December of 2021, they put out this statement, and at the time they weren't sure if they were going to continue, but they have continued. So we are going to get more, and we need more closure, man. We need to find out what happens when Griffith shows up. Do we have the final battle between Guts and Griffith? What happens to the Moon Boy? So then we have the guidebook. The guidebook has already been published, so this is nothing new. You have some color covers here. And then the guidebook, which I was breezing through, but it's like, I've already read the whole story, so I feel like I already know everything about these characters that I wanted to know. But it gives you abilities and stats, biographies. And again, I do like that they used this opportunity to bookend the 14 volumes. It's still a cool read. I mean, I might go through it one day and just get refreshed. But man, what an epic story. Ends on this huge cliffhanger. I need to go ahead and see what the students have been doing since volume 41. All right, guys, man, what a hell of a cliffhanger. Guts and Griffith face to face. What's going to happen? I have not read ahead online on any of the chapters. Don't spoil me in the comments, but let me know what you think about the Berserk volumes 40 and 41, the final deluxe edition by Kentaro Miura. I wonder if they're going to change the aesthetic of the books at all moving forward when they collect volumes 42, 43, and 44. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. One of my favorite mangas of all time, one of my favorite stories of all time. Drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and stay minty fresh. Peace.